everybody, welcome back. This is Anne from the blog hiddenfarmlife.com. Today I am going over how to make your own flour at home from the mill that I use, the wheat that I use, and what they're all used for, and I'll show you my own custom blend for all of my baking, so stay tuned. These are the main flour berries, or I'm sorry, wheat berries that I use. I use a combination of hard red wheat, white hard wheat, and einkorn, and this is what you can get in the store, the general all-purpose flour. So a little bit about each of these. The hard red wheat it's higher in protein, and that's good for making like breads and rolls and that sort of stuff, and it's used in making your all-purpose flour. The white is moderate, it's low to moderate protein, and this is good if you want to make homemade noodles, you know, like pasta, something like that, and it makes softer loaves. The red makes for a denser, harder loaf, and the white makes for a softer loaf, so this would be better suited, you know, like buns, pastries, cinnamon rolls, that sort of thing. The einkorn, it's very high in B vitamins. It's the most ancient grain of all of them, and it has, as you can see, it's darker from the red and the white. It's much darker, and it has a very distinctive nutty flavor, and this absorbs liquid much more slowly than the red and the white wheat. So you would need to, you can substitute einkorn flour for either one of these cup for cup, but you will need to adjust your liquid in your recipe because you won't need as much using the einkorn. Now, your all-purpose flour that you can buy in the store, this is just your run-of-the-mill all-purpose flour. This is actually a combo of hard red and other hard and soft wheats. That's why it's called all-purpose, because this is you can use this for pretty much anything that you want. It's very, very finely milled. I mean, we've all felt flour from the store. It's very finely milled. So that's the combination that I use, these three and some of the all-purpose flour from the store. This is my grain mill. It's the Nutri-Mill Classic, and it has several features that I really liked, that it made it the reason I chose it. One of them was this 20 cup bin capacity for flour. This is where the flour goes after it's been milled. It goes through this little window here, and there's a filter, and this just goes in there. I can't do it right now one-handed, but you can also select, you can control your motor speed and your texture of your grain. So depending on, you know, what you're grinding up and what you're using it for, you can select how fine or coarse it is. And then this ring right here, I can't get it off right now one-handed, but this is something that you added. It's an extender to the hopper. And then the lid, you would just put your grain in here, which I can do. I'll put the red wheat in now. You put your grain in, and I always do that with the mill off. And then you can put your lid on, and then this bin, you would need to replace it, and then you can turn it on. And obviously this comes with an owner's manual. I usually put this on all of my grains. I usually do, when I'm making my all-purpose flour, on fine. So let me go ahead and mill those up, and then I will come back and show you what they look like. Here are all the flours now that they've been milled. This is the red wheat, this is the white, and this is the einkorn. And these, as you would imagine, have a slightly, when you feel your flour from the store, it's very soft and powdery. The flour that you make at home is just as soft, but it has a slight little bit of a grit to it, and that's because the flour from the store has had all of the outer coating, the casing of the wheat germ taken off. These three, you have maintained that. So in essence, you have healthier flour. I'm not knocking the all-purpose from the store. I use it too. But these are a bit higher in nutrition because they retain that. And as you can see, there's not a lot of color difference between the red and the white once they've been milled. The einkorn is, you know, slightly beigeier, I would say, but all in all, they're about the same. Now, I did want to talk about yield. 1 cup of berries, usually, for the red and the white, will yield me 1 to 1. So for 1 cup of, I'm sorry, scratch that. My yield is normally 2 to 1. So for 1 cup of berries, I get 2 cups of flour for the red and the white. But when I mill my einkorn, 1 cup of berries, of einkorn berries, usually yields me about 2.5, sometimes 3 cups of flour. So just keep that in mind. As far as price goes, you know, since shutdown with COVID and the pandemic, things have fluctuated. These have gone up in price. I normally buy 50-pound bags, and I'm not really sure at the moment what the current price is. I can try to find that and look that up for you. But einkorn has always been, and probably will always be, the most expensive because it is super, super nutritious. It's, like I said, it's the ancient grain. It hasn't been tampered with as far as, you know, GMO or anything like that. All of these are, I get them that they're non-GMO, and they're actually grown organically. Einkorn, because your yield is usually higher, you get it in a smaller bag. Where I shop in Lancaster, and the next county over, I get this in a 25-pound bag. These come in 50-pound bags. And, you know, it's worth it to me because whenever I need flour, I just go ahead and mill it myself in my Nutri-Mill grain mill. So now I'll show you how I make my custom blend. So when it comes to making my flour blend, there really is no rocket science other than the little bit of information I gave you about what each wheat berry is typically used or good for. So I just do 1-to-1 ratios. So I will use this is approximately 1.5 cups of the red, and then another 1.5 cups of the white, and then 1.5 cups of the einkorn, and then the same amount of the store-bought all-purpose flour. And then I keep that in this bucket, and I label it my home blend flour. And once I have it in there, I will just take a big whisk or maybe a spoon with slots, and I just like to mix it and make sure this aerates it. And normally I don't have lumps when I get the flour out of my mill, but this will allow everything to mix together. And then I just keep it in here. I don't make a lot. This bucket is probably 2/3 full. And I'll show you. See? And I will go through this. Depending on my baking needs in a week, I can probably bust through this in about a week. So I'm making this amount, the 2/3 bucket amount, probably every week to week and a half, maybe sometimes 2 weeks. Now that it's colder out, I'll probably be baking more. I try to bake bread at least once a week, so I have a stock in the freezer. And I keep this in the pantry in my kitchen. As I've said before, that pantry, it's not heated and it's not cold, so it stays pretty much a constant temperature all year. And I put an airtight lid on it, and then I just get it out when I need it. Lots of people will keep their flour in the freezer. It can go rancid very quickly, especially in the summertime. So you want to make sure that wherever you're storing your flour, you're either using everything that you've made right away, or you're putting it in the freezer and you just pull it out when you need it. It's however you want to do it. And like I said, I go through this so quickly because I use this flour for all of my baking needs. I use this for when I want to make noodles, you know, homemade pasta. I use this to make and feed sourdough starter. I use it for everything. That's why it's my home blend. It's just, I use it for everything. So I will put the lid on this to make sure nothing gets in it now, and then I want to go over a few points on the mill before we close out. I wanted to mention about the mill that it really is super easy to clean. I just unplug it when I'm finished and I will clean out. Sometimes if you don't have it positioned properly, because it does kind of Hear that? It kind of locks in a little bit. You might get a little bit of flour down here that you need to wipe out, but super, super easy to use. I feel like this is beginner friendly, which is another reason that I chose this as my first grain mill. It's very intuitive. It's easy to use with just the two controls. I feel like when you have too many options, it becomes harder and you may end up not using it. But this NutriMill, this is, again, like I said, this is the classic. It has the stainless steel milling and it has the texture control, has the 20 cup capacity, which even if you're baking as much as me, that's plenty. And it has up here, you can put in the hopper with the extender, you can put up to 12 cups of grain to mill all at one time. Now, as this is milling, it does heat up. However, it does not heat over 118 degrees. So what does that mean? If your flour, as it's being milled, is heated too high, too high of a temperature, it loses some of that protective nutrition. So heating it, it doesn't ever go over 118 degrees, which means it maintains that nutrition. And some of the things that you can mill in here, obviously, you know, all of your hard and soft wheats. You can mill groats, rice, trical, kamut, spelt, dry beans, lentils, field corn, popcorn. What you cannot do in here is anything wet. Like, you don't want to soak grains and then put them in here. You don't want to put nuts in here. You don't want to put seeds in here, especially anything oily like flax seeds. You don't want to do that because it'll muck up all of those, you know, the steel plates in there, and it's bad. And oils go rancid absolutely quickly. So I'm going to end this video here, and I hope you have found this video on making your own flour informational and helpful. I hope it's answered some of your questions. If you have more questions, of course, leave them down below, and I will try to answer them to the best that I can. I will leave a link for the NutriMill in the description box, and anything else that I think would be relevant, or if you want to see anything or know where I've gotten anything else, just let me know. Until next time, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.